All right, please be seated, everyone. Mr. Brauchler, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. What the instruction tells you for statutory mitigation is the issue is...
Your Honor, you mentioned a disruption, and I know I was reading the transcript that the court reporter put a brief mention in there that there was a disruption or something in the gallery. But I think we just need to make a record of what happened. And one thing I'm going to do, if it's okay with the court, is I know there's a TV feed for the courtroom not showing the gallery, but you can hear what's going on in the courtroom pretty clearly. And she was screaming pretty loud. And I imagine Mr. Brauchler's microphone might have picked it up, or some other microphone. So I'm going to see if I can actually get a record of that, and hopefully we can make that a court exhibit. And I'm going to try to do that, if that's okay with the court.
Is that okay with the defense? Yeah, that's fine with me as well. You said transcript. I think you meant real time.
The real-time transcript, that's correct.
It's not a transcript. It's just real time. There is no transcript. You're looking at the real time on the screen on your computer. You have to be accurate on these things. So it's not a transcript. I know what you mean, but for the record, you're referring to the real time on your computer, correct?
I'm referring to the real-time that's on the small computer that is placed on our table that is provided by the courts. Yes,
Okay,
Your Honor.
great, thank you. All right, and for the record, this was a woman who has indicated to the sheriff's department that she is homeless. The sheriff has had some concerns about her, but she promised to behave in the courtroom, and this is a public courtroom. She's been here for the last handful of days and has been complying with all of my orders that relate to people's behavior in the courtroom and to the decorum that has to be observed in court. So we had no basis to exclude her from the courtroom. It's a public courtroom, and but it's someone that we were aware of. I think the parties may have been aware of her as well, and she's obviously not going to be allowed in the courtroom for any future proceedings in this case. Do the parties have any position with respect to whether I conduct any other types of proceedings with respect to her?
Well, Your Honor, you're the court, and that was certainly contemptuous. I don't believe I've ever actually, and I've been a lawyer, since 1991, and I've appeared in courts all over this state and in Maryland as well, and I've seen lots of contemptuous behavior directed towards the court. I have never seen behavior that contemptuous towards the court, towards the dignity of the court, towards the sanctity of the proceedings. It is, as we say in the law, direct contempt, because Your Honor witnessed it. It happened in the courtroom. If there was ever a circumstance where someone deserved to be found in direct contempt of court, it was that person who created that disruption. I think Your Honor should bring her in here. I don't know where she is. I don't know what the sheriffs did with her, and have a hearing and find her in contempt of court and treat her accordingly. That's my position.
All right. I know that she's currently being detained until I decide what to do. So, Ms. Brady, anything from you?
Your Honor, I think she's obviously mentally ill. I don't think holding her in contempt is going to help with that. And, I mean, perhaps see if the county attorney wants to check into maybe she needs some psychiatric help. We've all discussed how there's a statute where you can hospitalize someone you feel is mentally ill. Perhaps that would be the more humane approach to this.
Well, I'm not going to assume that she's mentally ill. I don't know whether she is or she's not. I know that the sheriff was concerned about her for different reasons, but I also know that the sheriff was very clear with her about the rules when you're in the courtroom, and I know that she's been following those rules for the past 5 days, and she chose not to do so today. So that's what I know. In terms of whether she's mentally ill or not, I'm not going to make any assumptions. Mr. Brauchler?
Your Honor, I only ask if the court would permit me to just supplement the record from my vantage point with the jury. Clearly, the outburst distracted the jurors and interrupted the closing statement. And I appreciate the court giving me a little extra time. When I started back up, I could tell, even because of the noise coming in from the outside, there were still numerous jurors that were not tracking the closing. They were looking towards the door where this outrageous act had taken place. And I appreciate the court giving me time, but I do think the record should reflect that for couple minutes, at least in the middle there, several of the jurors seemed unfocused because of this incident.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else from anyone else at this time? I'm gonna take that issue under advisement. I'm gonna think about what to do. But I felt it was important to tell the jurors to ignore that and to not let that affect their deliberations. And as soon as I started saying that, they all started nodding their heads and acknowledging, that they understood that and that wasn't going to affect them. And I have no doubt that this will have, no interference whatsoever in terms of the decision that the juries or the decisions that the jury makes. So